Hello Luxury Home Show, I'm Cate St Hill, an interior designer, and this is my Victorian terraced house in southeast London. Come on in. One of my favourite things about the house are these sort of modern Crittall style doors which really frame the green view and create that seamless link between inside and out. This is where everything happens. I love to cook, I love to gather friends round, and this is the perfect space to do that. I wanted to create a more open plan living space rather than a separate living room, which was small and dark. So we're in a 3-bed terraced house, and we added an extension 2 years ago. So it was sort of the worst house on the best street kind of mentality. When we bought it, it was run down, in need of TLC, and we brought it back to life and made it a light-filled, Scandinavian-inspired space. So my style is very simple, very minimal, but I like the artwork and colour and accessories to bring life and tell the story so that a space can evolve with me throughout the day or throughout the seasons. One of the things I really like about this house is from the moment you walk through the door, you see the green view through the back. And I love seeing views through rooms because it guides you through, you get a sense of intrigue and you're like, oh, what's beyond? So let me take you through and I'll show you the best room of the house. So I studied architecture and I never became an architect. I can't call myself an architect, but I always wanted to do my own project. So this was a bit of a passion project, and when I first bought the house, there was a bathroom down here on the ground floor, which was cold, it was leaky, it was not a space you wanted to spend time in. And I lived with it like that for about 6 years before I could afford to do an extension. So I worked with the architect Scenario Architecture to develop the plan, moving the bathroom from downstairs to upstairs to create a much more logical layout, going into the side return to create this beautiful open plan, light-filled space which could be a multifunctional family home. This is actually a north-facing space, but it doesn't feel dark or dingy. It feels quite light and airy. And the goal for me was always to connect inside and out. So we've got this beautiful green backdrop, which is actually thanks to my neighbours who don't tend to do much gardening to this foliage, but it's wonderful because it feels like a tropical paradise in Brixton. And I really tried to bring some of that nature inside. I'm a big believer in biophilic design, which is all about connecting with nature and bringing those natural elements inside, whether it's with plants, natural materials, wood, texture. I'm all about tactility. So while my space feels calm, pale and minimal, there's lots of little interest from the details. And I say I'm minimal, but I also like a few little things around me, my books, my candles, little things I found on trips. So for example, I went to Japan because I've recently written a book on Japanese and Scandinavian design, and I found this in a flea market. And I love having the mix of old and new to help add character and bring that homely feel to a space. And while it's a simple functional space, I also have a 4-year-old, so there are things hidden in here like this with all her toys, and I try to be really minimal, but honestly it's quite hard with a little child. I don't believe they need that many toys, so I've tried to keep it contained to one cupboard, but it's sort of a daily battle of stuff. When I designed this space, I wanted the view from the front door, and I created this block of storage in the middle where I could house my washing machine, coat storage, because in a Victorian terraced house the hallway is so narrow you don't really have much space for all the clutter of everyday life, your shoes, your coats, the pram. So I packed in loads of storage because you can never have too much. And then on the other side we've got a little pantry cupboard where I've got my coffee machine, my appliances and everything tucked away, out of sight, out of mind. I'm sort of one of those surface level tidy people. It looks tidy on the surface, but then it's just a matter of having good storage and having everything hidden away. When I'm designing spaces, I like them to have a relaxed, natural feel to them so that you feel comfortable in the space. So when I conceived the extension, I really wanted a built-in bench seat. I just think it feels so much more comfortable, you can lean back, and it also adds even more storage because the cupboards lift up and I've hidden paint pots, all the things you might fit in a garage, for example, but in a London terraced house, you don't naturally have much storage. Again, the mismatched chairs help give a relaxed, sort of convivial feel. So it's not too formal. When people come over, I want them to feel relaxed, like they can put their feet up on the coffee table, or they can sit and have a coffee and have a lovely chat. So that's kind of the feel of the different textures and the different woods, while keeping a similar style in mind. These lamps were one of my biggest expenses for the extension. I knew before I did the extension that I adored these lamps. They're by Muller van Severen for Valerie Objects. And because I had the skylight, I couldn't really have pendants coming down over the dining table, but these come over, and I think they just add that clean architectural line which adds something unique to the space. Again, it's north facing, so bringing lots of natural light in. We rarely actually have the ceiling lights on because we hardly need it. It's a beautiful, bright, light, airy space. So I designed this 5-metre long bench seat which wraps round to form a window seat. When I was designing and conceiving the extension, I really didn't want just a wall of glass. I like spaces to be a bit nuanced and to have a cosy, intimate feel. So you have a variety of spaces, one where you come together if you're all gathered in a more extroverted moment with people, but then one where you could sort of hide away and read a book. And I really wanted a window seat, somewhere where I could keep all my books and cuddle up and look outside at the green view. And I'm very much an introvert, so I need those moments of peace and solitude. So I wanted to build them into my home and create these spaces where I could escape, unwind and relax. So the idea of mixing something vintage and secondhand with something very Scandinavian, like this stool by Alvar Aalto. Alvar Aalto is one of my favourite Scandinavian architects. He really used nature in the home, and he had a very humanist way of working with design. So it was all about the user in the space and how they felt in the space, how the light impacted the space, and I really took on that approach myself. So I work for myself by myself, and this is where I work. I used to, a long time ago, work in offices where they had no windows. They were very soulless places, and I really struggled to work in them. And now I get to work in this beautiful homely space with my plants, my cosy lights, and the view outside where I can just sort of daydream and come up with ideas. And I find that really suits my way of life and my personality so much more. And that's an ethos I've sort of put into my own book about Japanese and Scandinavian design. For me, the idea of Japandi isn't just an aesthetic, it's a way of life. So it's a way of living more mindfully in the world, bringing nature into the home, appreciating the things around you, living with less, and celebrating those simple moments at home. One of my favourite things about the house are these sort of modern Crittall style doors which really frame the green view and create that seamless link between inside and out. I love that we're not overlooked, so we're in Zone 2 of London. I can get to the South Bank in 10 minutes on the train, and yet I don't feel like I'm in the middle of the city. I have greenery all around me, it's calm, it's peaceful, I can hear the birds, and I feel like I'm in my own little oasis. So I wanted to squeeze in all this handy storage and hide away the appliances I don't want to see every day. So I created this little coffee station because I am obsessed with coffee, and it's the first thing I have to do in the morning is have my morning coffee. I've got all my favourite mugs and the things like the slow cooker, pressure cooker, the toaster, just things I don't want on the countertop, so that in the kitchen it's really minimal and has a nice airy feel. So this used to actually be the side return of the house, and this was the kitchen window, so everything from these steps is new. And before we could see the garden, but it was awkward to access it because you had to go down a corridor, round, through a back door. And now I walk down and I see this beautiful green view, and the spaces flow so much better. And it's so functional on a day-to-day level of cooking in the kitchen, then coming through to the dining room, having the pantry where all the appliances are hidden. So let me show you through into the kitchen itself. So in most Victorian terraced houses, the kitchen is in the extension, whereas we've got it in the middle of the space. And the kitchen is naturally the heart of the home, it's the hub where everything goes on. And in a Victorian terraced house, this space tends to feel a bit lost. It becomes a thoroughfare or a sort of in-between space between the living room and the extension, whereas this is where everything happens. I love to cook, I love to gather friends round, and this is the perfect space to do that. So this kitchen is actually an IKEA kitchen, and I could rave about IKEA kitchens. Their carcasses are really solid and well built, and then there's lots of companies who do fronts for IKEA kitchens. So these are from a Swedish company called Superfront, and it just helps elevate a kitchen so it looks a bit more bespoke, but it's really affordable at the same time. And I think it's a great way to make your kitchen stand the test of time, so it can change and evolve with you, and you can change the fronts if your style changes or if your tastes change. We put this IKEA kitchen in when we first moved in, before we had done the extension, so I really wanted to update it to my more Japandi sort of style, which I had in the extension, so that the spaces could flow and feel part of one whole. These are also actually from IKEA, but I don't think you would ever be able to tell. They're from their new Stockholm range. And I love how the lines, the wooden lines, echo the handles on the kitchen. They look like they're part of the same family. We didn't have enough space to have units on both sides, so these cupboards fit in really neatly, and it's where I hold all my best glassware, my napkins, best plates. I love having unusual little objects like this I found from an antique shop in Deal. And I think it's a games board, but I'm not really sure, but I think it just creates a beautiful modern piece of art, just put on a sideboard like that. When we first moved in, the first thing I wanted to do was knock down the wall between the kitchen and the living room. So the kitchen wrapped round in an L shape, and then there was a door to the living room here. And I wanted to create a more open plan living space rather than a separate living room, which was small and dark. I closed off that door so that I could fit a longer sofa and create a much more functional space which feeds and flows through to the kitchen. The previous owner had a thing for feature walls, and this was painted bright purple, and it was not to my taste at all. So I stripped everything back. I wanted to go back to the sort of bare bones of the property, and it didn't actually have many period features left, sadly. So that's why I put in a wood burner and created this monochrome tiled fireplace, because there wasn't many period features to work with. This is one of my favourite corners because it has my art books, my design books, and my favourite painting, which I got for my 30th birthday by an artist called Lisa Giles, who's based in Peckham. Those are actually old cricket signs, and the number corresponds with the birthday of my mum, so it has a bit of a special meaning. Something really unusual, I found an old French street sign, and I just love having little quirky things like that. Even though my style is very neutral, I am just drawn to unusual little objects like that. So on one of the first days when we moved in, this actually had the boiler in the fireplace and it fell out. It was a gas burner boiler, and we were like, oh, that doesn't look very safe. So that sort of kick-started the whole renovation process, because we needed to get a new boiler. We moved the boiler out of the fireplace, obviously, and put it in the kitchen, redid the kitchen and put in this cosy wood burner to create the living room of my dreams, really. So this sofa is from British Design Shop, a lovely British company where all their sofas and armchairs are made in the UK. I've paired that again with an eBay find, which is sort of a vintage Saarinen tulip table. And I love having little things on it like old vintage books, a pebble I found on a beach, which is just really tactile. That feels somehow very Japanese to have just a little pebble there. I'm really into mudlarking on the South Bank, where you can find lots of unusual bits of pottery. And I have lots of dishes dotted around the house where my daughter and I have found little pieces of pottery, and I just think they're a really special story of time gone by. It takes me ages to commit to a piece of art on a wall, and there's some really affordable ways that you can create art. So these are just postcards, which I've got from favourite exhibitions or museums, which I've put into frames. and it just creates a work of art for a couple of pounds really. This is the Samsung Serif TV designed by the Buralik brothers. And I like how it looks like a statement piece. I mean, TVs are so ugly, they tend to be a black box taking up a corner of the room. And while this does take up some space, we like watching TV, it feels a bit more design-minded or design-orientated, and I don't mind that I see it. I think it's a beautiful object in its own right. When I first saw the house, it had this ugly brown carpet, and it was the first thing I ripped out. And then later I got the original stairs sanded and I painted it this beautiful green. It's sage green by Little Green. And I like how it feels like a seamless part. Everything is painted the same and it just guides your eye upwards and leads you up to the next floor. So let's go and have a look. This is the only bathroom in the house and it is tiny. I can put my arms out and touch both sides of the wall. But I think because we've got the skylight and we've gone into the eaves, it doesn't feel tight and claustrophobic. It works as a family bathroom with a 4-year-old daughter. So like I said, before the bathroom was downstairs and we managed to squeeze it upstairs, add an extra bedroom out there, which I'm not going to show you because it's the dumping ground, and the bathroom here, and then we've got the 2 original bedrooms down there to the left. The green theme continues all the way up the stairs to the tiles in the bathroom. I was very perfectionist about it. I matched the tiles with the colour of the grout, with the colour of the silicone, with the colour of the towel rail, and I even chose a green sink. So I really am green obsessed. There is one regret I have about this green sink, is that it shows all the toothpaste marks, so I do have to clean it every day. So this used to be a window to the garden where you would see the roof of the bathroom below and then the garden beyond. And now we've got a bedroom here and the bathroom there. And because the bathroom's really small, I added in a bathroom cabinet here where I've got all my products and things. So in a bathroom, it's really easy to forget about storage, and then you realise that you've got all these things to put somewhere and you don't want them out on display. So this is really neat, hidden away here. This is my daughter's room, which is the darkest room in the house. It's north facing, but I wanted to embrace some of that coziness. I think in north facing spaces, you can't really fight the light and try and make it lighter. So I put this pink ceiling in and these sage green walls. She's campaigning for it to go completely pink, and I'm still negotiating with her on how much pink we add to the house. If it was her way, she would have a pink front door, a pink living room, but my caveat was a pink ceiling is enough pink. We really love reading and it's one of our favourite times of the day, so I wanted to create this little reading nook in the corner with these shelves. They're actually picture ledgers from IKEA. So her books are all on display and she can easily reach them and bring them down. I think when you're designing a kid's room, you want to think of it from their perspective and how they're going to use the space. So I brought things down to her level. I made things easy to access so she feels like the space is her own, it's not too precious. This is the main bedroom, and like with all the other rooms, it had a bright blue feature wall, and I've really gone back to neutrals and colour drenched the room in this Portland stone by Little Green, which is a really calm neutral. I wanted to create a sanctuary, somewhere where I can go and it feels quiet and peaceful and I can escape the world. I find London is very noisy, chaotic, so I come here and it's sort of like a breath of fresh air and it just calms and I can recharge my batteries. I love adding textures, so lots of relaxed linen, and the pro is that you don't need to iron it because the creases are just part of its character, which is a plus for me because I don't have time to iron. I've got all my favourite books here and I only really keep the ones I really enjoy or the covers I like. And if there's one which is really brightly coloured, I do turn it around. That's my shameless secret. I love little objects like this. My mum found this vintage sea on eBay and it's a nice little special reminder. This is another piece by Lisa Giles, and again it has that green, pops of green everywhere. And little vintage objects like this one is an old toothpaste holder, and I think they just did things so nicely back in the day. I mean, you don't get your Colgate in a little pot with such beautiful font now, and it's just useful for storing bits and pieces. One of my favourite views is as you come up the stairs and you see this chair. This was a Danish design that I found on eBay. I'm a bit eBay obsessed as well. And it's actually a functional chair, because often in a bedroom you have a chair which is sort of a clothes horse. You just dump your clothes on it and you don't actually use it. Whereas this is somewhere where I genuinely sit and read a book or do some emails. It's really comfy, and I love the texture of the fabric bands on it. Thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure to have you. If you want to find me on Instagram, I'm at Cate St Hill, and my book, The Japandi Home, is out now. Thank you.
Hi Luxury Home Show, I'm Hannah Hampton and welcome to my townhouse in London. Come on in. So we purchased the property in 2018. I first came to see it in 2017.